What's going on, guys? Bel Air here. It is Friday night. How you doing out there? We just finished up an incredibly exciting day 2 of the London Major. Isn't every LAN day exciting? I agree, it is. But today especially was a really good time. And I thought a good way to recap some of the action would be to go over the Game 5 from 4 series that had a Game 5. Over the 3 rounds that we had today. And the first one here is in round 4 between 2 teams that have played each other quite a few times. Those are G2 and Gen.G, and we're on board with Atomic point of view for this one. I just watched I watched a series when it was happening, Dazarin and T-Bates, with a very unique cast for this one. But I also thought it was a very interesting matchup because, as I said, these 2 teams have played quite a few times. And I just rewatched Game 4 just to kind of prep myself for this on Atomic point of view as well. Atomic looks great. It ended up going deep into overtime. It was like 3.5 minutes. And Atomic made a pretty good play. A 50 just didn't quite go where you'd want it to. Bounced a little too heavily for him. And he demoed ApparentlyJack seemingly by accident, which took away his momentum, and therefore he just was unable to get to a save that ended up sending this to championship field here, champions field rather. I do want to say that the game took quite a few turns along the way. I know we kind of talk about these things where it's like, this is what X team needs to do, this is what Y team needs to do. This is what this team does, you know, those kind of things. But the game went through quite a few phases, and oh my god. Is that Daniel? Clears up some space, takes Firstkiller off Beastmode. Oh, lordy. Let's look at that one more time. I think this is Beast point of view. So much power, and then the little extra kind of lift at the very end there to open up the scoring in a big matchup. But, you know, physical scrums in the corners where we had, you know, all 6 players within a couple yards of one another trying to make something out of it. Transition ball back and forth. It was a grounded series game at some points, that Game 4. It was a high-flying series at others. You know, transition ball, 50s, teams trying to make something out of that. Solo plays, passing plays. These 2 teams have played each other so many times that you have to constantly switch things up and change your delivery. Otherwise, the other team is going to just read you too easily. Speaking about how many times they have played, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times this season. And G2 won the first 2 matchups. Those are back in Open Qualifiers 1 and 2. And they beat Gen.G very decidedly. And then Gen.G actually won 4 straight, 2 in Open Qualifier 3. They beat them in Swiss and then in playoffs. And then they beat them at the Major in Copenhagen. And then they beat them in Open Qualifier 4 as well in the Grand Finals, which secured Gen.G's only victory from this second split. And that was 4 straight for Gen.G. They came into this one with those 4 straight. And here is G2 trying to answer the call and get the series a little bit closer to even. What about the games, the matches that were played before this? What's the tail of the tape coming in here? G2 has had a pretty easy run. They had a great day 1. They took down who? Probably not Mobula, because that was BDS. So I think they had Gladiators, and then they played Power. So a pretty easy 1-2 there. And then in the round before this, they were held scoreless in games 2 and 3 en route to being swept out by Team Falcons. Very decisive victory by Falcons, who look like they're on the warpath. Clearly one of the favorites of the tournament going into the playoffs tomorrow, where they're going to go up against this Gen.G roster that's on the other side here. And speaking of Gen.G, before this, they 3-1 Oxygen, which was very impressive in that series. Firstkiller went for 5 goals and assists, 9 saves. He was kind of all over the place. They had kind of a tiered approach. I think ApparentlyJack had like 14 saves, or excuse me, that was Chronic, and then Jack had like, you know, 3 or 4 assists. So they really were splitting things up pretty well there. And oh my goodness, I was just about to say we're getting late into the clock here. This one's been back and forth. Jack is going to beat Beast Mode, get that extra little touch, and then Chronic is just going to slice one in bottom right there to even us up with 22 seconds to go. Atomic has been to a grand finals before. He won a event with G2 a couple seasons back, and he had made it to the World Championship Grand Finals against BDS in the 21-22 season. So let's see what Atomic can do here as him and Daniel bump into each other in the waning moments. Atomic is going to get up super fast, and I think Beast Mode is happy to let this drop into golden goal. Game 5 overtime here. Something I've been really impressed by in watching recent Atomic games is just how quickly he gets up to a ball. His second jump, which is like something that we talked about a lot with like Zion Williamson coming out of college. His ability to jump, land, and then jump again. That second jump is so fast. And that's something that I see with Atomic as well, where his ability to get up, get grounded, and then get up yet again is just got to be one of the fastest in North America, if not the world. Weird 50 there, where G2 commit to just to ensure that nothing goes awry. And that one's going to accidentally get yeeted all the way back into the opposite corner off of a poor challenge there, which is kind of out of their control. Not a great look for Atomic, who maybe was trying to wall dash with no momentum. And G2 seemed to be managing pretty well here, given the circumstances, now trying to break out and find themselves unable to do so. Let's see the poise here. Oh man, Chronic was kind of flirting with going for a demo of his own and ended up getting having to pay for his own life there. Let's see how Beast Mode can get out. Seems like G2 have been stuck in their own side here for quite a while. Comfortable-ish, although they do seem to be flying end to end as this ball is kind of ricocheting around. Let's see if Beast Mode can get up early to that intercept. He can. And now Atomic with full boost. Man, Firstkiller is so good at those like low corner sidewall challenges. We saw that one that he sent all the way across the goal line there a second ago. And that one, of course. Atomic is okay to back up here. G2 seem to be okay to take the ball back into their own half. Let's not force anything. Oh my goodness. I gotta be honest, I was not expecting that one to end so fast. I thought I was gonna be able to talk for a little bit longer. How did this one come to fruition? So Atomic's like, yeah, whatever, we'll take it back. Takes the boost from Beast Mode. Does this get over Chronic? Oh man, and then just a rocket. Top right, the placement unbelievable. Let's see this from Beast Mode point of view. Just gonna doink that one over Chronic. Man, I guess he thought Beast Mode was out. What's he doing there? Of course, if you watched our Chronic video from a couple weeks back, that's one of the big concerns with him is his transition defense is not always excellent. Just gets blasted over. Was Firstkiller last back here? I don't think there was anything he could have done. Let's watch this one more time and then we'll move on to we got 4 games we're trying to cover, so this video might be a little bit of a longer one. And has to cover all the angles, just cannot do it. There you have it. Atomic with a huge, decisive, series-winning goal there over rivals Gen.G. 1 goal, 4 saves on 2 shots there for Atomic, 631 score. And not a whole lot doing from the Gen.G side either, although that's a little unfair. They were right there, 2 minutes in. That means that we had 5 minutes of overtime, so this one effectively was a 6-gamer as G2 are able to come out on top. They are going to go up against Space Station Gaming tomorrow in their quarterfinals. And as we said before, Gen.G are going to hopefully be able to make the most out of the venom that Falcons have brought into the tournament thus far. So let's go ahead and pivot to our second game, and we'll get back onto Champions Field here. All right, let's go ahead and rock with Motta of Team Secret as they are in the Round 4 lowers against OG Esports, the North American team. This series was a war. I strongly recommend going back and watching this. Yeah, especially it's always great if you have access to Bacchus mod and can watch the replays like this. Excellent. I'll never deter anybody from wanting to do that. This broadcast was really great. It was a ton of fun. There were huge implications. Team Secret need this one to make it to qualify for Worlds, and you can see those nerves there a little bit as Brad and then KV1 went back-to-back on whiffs on essentially open nets. This is huge for Team Secret. They need 2 wins in order to take that spot off of Complexity. They, of course, are in the round 4 lowers, meaning they are 1 and 2. So if they were to lose here, they would have to go to a tiebreaker against Complexity for that world spot. But winning here would give them the spot outright. This was a tightly contested series. They traded games 1 and 2, and then games 3 and 4 were both overtimes, pretty short overtimes for what it's worth. And let's see how this first one's able to roll in. Brad with the quick little touch up top. Too quick for JKnaps. And we're going to get on the board there early as Motta is just circling. That sharp goal explosion is pretty apt for how he was just circling to get that goal there. Going to bump JKnaps off the play. Showing off the speed here, trying to pick up the pace against OG, who like to be methodical, pick their spots, team plays, and Motta is looking to be a disruptor to that flow. In their game before this, OG went up against BDS. They got whooped pretty bad. It was not a great series, especially for JKnaps, who looked really shaky to start things off. OG were scoreless in games 1 and 2, and then game 3 ended up going to overtime. It was a 4-3 scoreline. But, you know, the series never really felt like it was out of control, even though OG have shown a penchant for reverse sweeps and kind of picking things up late. BDS just have so much firepower that if you can't get it cranking against them, it was just too little, too late. Comm and JKnaps were held to 2 for 7 shooting. Monkey Moon looked awesome. And Team Secret went up against Gentlemates Alpine. The first game was a pretty good indicator of how things might go. They lost 6-2 in game 1. Then they were able to kind of, you know, pull it back a little bit, make it a little closer, but Gentlemates were able to stretch them super thin. They were crushing them in transition. There was this one goal that I remember where Team Secret were creating quite a bit of pressure, and it's like pressure, pressure, pressure. They just got him held on the offensive end, and then a very simple Itachi's on the sidewall and just finds Seiko streaking down the other side for just a pretty open transition goal. So Gentlemates are certainly finding their form, and we saw, you know, both of the players, or teams rather, that we see on the pitch right now falling to top European teams as they continue to be the dominant region that we have in our esport, especially French teams. That country in and of itself are certainly number 1 in the power rankings. Noly fakes like he's going to go for a ground pitch. Motta was ready for it as it hopped a little bit over top of him. We're not on his point of view, but I got to shout out Brad, whose defense in this series was so good. So good for Brad, who, you know, has been to a major before as part of Crew Esports. That was him, Drops, and Drufinho, of course. And I was really impressed by his passing and his composure in big moments there, and made even more impressed by his performance in this series. Love this Team Secret team. They were unable to eventually make it to the playoffs, of course, and Motta with the redirect in the Black Shark to put us up 2-0. How did that one come to fruition? Motta makes the smoke screen, makes it kind of dangerous, and then JKnaps just does not make contact on a KV1 pass, I believe that was, to put him up 2-0 here. KV1, by the way, was on 50 to 75 boost for 97% of this series. Are you kidding me? That's so often to have boost, as Motta's trying to backtrack here and use about half a tank to get to that one, and is able to intercept that one with ease as this ball is just bouncing. The clock is ticking here for OG, who gotta go. They had already secured their world spot before this matchup, but of course you want to make playoffs and all that good stuff. OG, unfortunately, were not able to get over the hump either in this series, but we got 14 seconds left, and are they able to do anything? It seems like the clock is just running out here as Team Secret were able to do their work early. This team seemed to be really cohesive, and you know, Motta in interviews talked about them as a family, which is always great to know that teams have that camaraderie, as Motta went 2 for 0, didn't need to put anything else on the scoreboard, just a scoring threat here, and excited to see this team make it to the upcoming World Championship in Fort Worth, Texas. So with that said, let's hop to our third and final game here that went to game 5, and we'll wrap this video up. All right, third and final game here. This is Lostt point of view for Furia against Oxygen Esports in round 5. So this is win or go home for both of these teams, both of who expected to be playoff teams for sure in this event. And for Oxygen, they need to make it to the grand finals in order to qualify for the World Championship. If not, that spot will go to Carmine Corps. And they started off this event really, really flat. We know how much talent they have on this roster, with Oski and Joyo being the mechanical menaces that they are. Archie being their third, who actually led Oxygen in the scoring department over the course of this split, which is very surprising. But yeah, they did not start out super well. They dropped their first series to Power. They go on to beat Gaming Gladiators in a series that was much closer than you might anticipate, at least on the score sheet. And after that, they lost to Gen.G, and then they beat a Twisted Minds team right before this round 5. So as far as opponents go, pretty lucky for Oxygen to draw Power, Gladiators, and Twisted Minds there. You know, there's much harder draws to have. One of those harder draws is on the other side of the pitch in Furia. So they beat OG to start things off, and here's our first goal of the game as Yann's going to slice one in to Lostt. They then go on to beat Gentlemates. They lose to Vitality, and then they lost to SSG right before this. So they're trying to avoid the reverse Swiss sweep here is Furia, as they are on the path to try and continue to make a name for the South American region as their #1 seed. Now, in the games before this, SSG were on fire. Great team effort by them over there. LJ started to turn it on, had 4 goals. There was one that he had in the closeout game where he was just like floating in the air for an incredibly long time and was able to just dazzle and drop a pass right onto, I believe it was Chicago's hood. They looked really good. I certainly underestimated that team. Did not have them as a playoff team, but I stand corrected, as I do on many things. Furia shot 4 for 40 in that series against Space Station Gaming. Yan almost outshot Space Station by himself. 20 shots to Yan. He shot 1 for 20. So 20 shots for him and 23 total shots for SSG in that win. So certainly a quality over quantity approach there. And on the other side of things, Oxygen went up against Twisted Minds, who needed that victory against Oxygen to try to qualify for Worlds. Since they lost that, here's another one, an easy one in transition, as Oxygen are going to overextend here. Twisted Minds needed to keep winning to try and get Worlds contention. They, of course, lost that and got sent home by Oxygen in the series before this. And instead we have anything representing MENA, and that is Naupo, Venom, and who's the third? It's Mesho, who was a longtime sub for some of these top MENA teams. In that game, Archie, 70% goal participation after not scoring a goal, being the last player in this event to score a goal for any team. He goes 70% goal participation, really starts to turn it on and find his flow, and shot 4 for 15, 3 assists, 5 saves. Great overall game for Archie. And now they just need to kind of, find themselves. Joyo talked Shift has been doing these interviews, and it might have been in one of those. Actually, I'm positive it was, where Joyo said, you know, they know they have the talent. They just need to, this is a game of confidence, and they didn't feel very confident. And it showed, of course, in their run, but we knew this before the event even started, that Oxygen are a momentum-based team, and when things are not going well, you know they're not going well. I think I equated them to Luka Doncic, where it's like, if he's having a bad game and he's upset with the refs, you're going to know it. Oxygen wear it on their sleeves as well. As let's see how this third one kind of came to be here, because it's a critical one. And it looks like it's just a pure turnover here from Oski. I'm not even sure how this one happened. Trying to go upfield for the demo. Oski turns around and just gives the ball right to Yan. And that's probably going to be our series here, as a very deflated Oxygen team now enters a long off season with some decisions to be made. To be honest with you, I think that they probably look to move off of Archie if they can find somebody else that'll kind of fit the mold. But, you know, maybe they run it back. What do I know? I always think that teams are going to change it up because they typically do, but that by no means means that every team is going to change just for change's sake. On the other side of things, Furia are about to get their fourth matchup against Vitality this year. And Furia currently hold that 2-1. Excuse me, had some dinner in between games. And they are going to try and even up the series with a very hungry and dangerous Vitality team. Oxygen can't even put one away for the road there, as a pretty deflating loss for them, unable to get on the scoreboard here in the closeout after trading games with a very strong Furia team. Lostt ends up going 2 goals, 2 saves on 1 shot. 2 goals on 1 shot? We won't question it. Great overall performance by them. We're going to see how they continue to march on. A very strong top 8 that we're going to be seeing in the playoffs tomorrow. Cannot wait to watch it. We'll see. I have this idea in my mind of trying to put out a video for every one of the matches, but I know that that's a very tall task. So we'll see what we actually end up producing. But guys, thank you so much for being a part of this journey along the way here as we march through the major. The channel hit 1,000 subscribers the other day, and I typically don't give stuff like that too much value, but it means a lot after making videos for about 3 years now. Started out making NBA content, and decided to make the pivot quite a while ago to RLCS, and really have been finding my flow recently. And a big part of that flow has been you guys. You've been incredibly kind and supportive with your comments and with the way that you've supported the video and the growth of the channel. So I cannot stress enough how much I'm appreciative of all the kind things that you all have said. And I hope you enjoy this video as well. So I'll stop. I'll get off the podium here. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk. Guys, thank you so much for checking out the content. And as always, until next time, take it easy.